grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We about to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brandon T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. Hope you like that new intro song that was done by the very talented Headphone Joe. No O, no E in the phone. He is my co-host on Cheers from the Press Box, my sports podcast. Also has been a guest on this podcast. Check him out on all social media at Joe Dorville. His album is called TV. And again, that's Headphone Joe. Thank you again for that intro song. If you are new to the show and couldn't catch the intro song lyrics because they're just so awesome, my name is Brennan Tassif. I am sober now, but I did a lot of partying and drinking back in the day. And one of my favorite things to do back then, and still one of my favorite things to do currently, is to hang out either by myself or with some friends and do what we used to do, which is just talk shit, talk shop, just like you would do with a drinking buddy. I am joined today by a very close friend of mine, a return guest, the Gummy Bear Gangster himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Marcus Crespo. What's going on, man?
Nothing much, baby. I really enjoyed the intro song.
I know.
Dope. You got an intro song.
I know. It's legit. We're finally legit.
Oh, yeah, man. That's awesome. That's dope.
A few months in. Yeah, because Joe listens to the he's been on it, but he also listens to the podcast, and it was really funny because he messaged me and was like, okay, I do music, and I'm sick of listening to the show and not having an intro, so here. And I was like, okay, cool. But Marcus is a local comedian here in Jacksonville, but he does travel all over the country. In fact, you have some dates coming up, right? This will come out tomorrow, so.
So actually, at the end of this week, at Saturday, I am returning to where it all started. I'm returning to Regency Square Mall.
Oh, God.
At a venue in the mall called iBridge. And if you're familiar with the mall, it's where the old Victoria's Secret used to be.
Okay, so right there at the very front.
Yep, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, or in the East Mall, as they call it. But yeah, I'm going to be...
As they call it, to the initiated.
Yeah, to the initiated. Yeah. He messaged me and it just had the address on. I'm like, I know the address. I put that address on plenty of police report. You know. Yeah, dude.
And that's going to be Saturday, December 12th.
Yep, Saturday, December 12th, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. It's a all arts type of showcase.
Okay.
So there's spoken word, there's some music, and then I'm one of the comedians. Me and a guy named Leroy Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah, and then next week. I'm going to promote the little 3-night run I got going.
Okay.
Started with us. We are Thursday night, Richmond Hill, Georgia. Yep. Yeah. The Bold City Bruisers.
Coming to
flashbacks, Richmond Hill. Then Friday, I'm going to be here at Hyperion, back in Jacksonville, closing out that showcase. And then Saturday, I'm going to be in Sanford at Oasis on the River. It's kind of like a co-headline thing, I think. I think that's how he's promoting it.
Okay.
I thought I was featured, but I think he's promoting it as a co-headline type thing. So that's what I got going on within the next 2 weeks or so.
Damn, so you're going to be all over the place. Check out...
Trying to.
What's your social media so people can check that out?
Basically, Marcus Crespo Besto is pretty much like the handle for most of my social media. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, I did want to have you back on. We have a lot of banked episodes coming up, but with everything that has happened as far as Black Friday, the holiday season coming up, I desperately wanted to have you on so you could share some of those stories. For those who haven't heard Marcus's first episode, go back and check it out. It's Marcus Crespo, the Gummy Bear Gangster. You have a history of violence. No, but you also have
essentially, yeah.
You have worked security, not only at Disney, but at what you already prefaced, Regency Square Mall, which is one of the most notorious malls in the country when it was thriving.
Yeah.
Because of the violence and some of the things that happen. So... Not so much drinking stories, but this is still going to be fun because this violence goes hand in hand with my life as well. So you have worked how many Black Fridays when you worked security at the mall? Well, and this is when the mall was the mall. Like it was the only mall in town, in Jacksonville, which is a big place.
I worked from 2007 to 2013, so about seven Black Fridays. Yeah,
And is Black Friday one of those things, like, I work in the restaurant industry, so there's certain days like Mother's Day and Valentine's Day where you have to work? Is that how it is, like, when you're working?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially. It's like all hands on deck.
They
need it. Especially during the heyday, like the earlier part of when I worked there, because there was a lot more stores and they used to do giveaways.
Okay.
Like the first 50 people.
Yeah, doorbusters or whatever. Yeah,
things like that. And they would give like a free snow globe at some of the stores and stuff like that. It was like, I did at JCPenney's one year had like free Disney. It was like a 2-inch snow globe, right?
Yeah.
And like people were like, they were causing issues for like a 2-inch snow globe. It was the weirdest thing, but it's free, man. People love free.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I think we've noticed with shows and stuff too, is because like people will go to stuff and like it if it's free, but then they don't value it as much because they didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird things where they want it because it's free.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, once they get it, it just goes in a box somewhere.
Yeah, they'll show up. Which is cool. You know, they'll show up, but like they may not pay attention, or they'll talk
the whole fucking time.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a similar thing, you know, because they didn't have to dish over their hard-earned money.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like when they pay for the beer when they show up to a free show. You know, you don't see them like pouring it out for the homies. It's like something stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not just wasting it because they paid for that. But then they come to the back to watch a show and it's free, and so they're just talking to their friends the whole time. It's like there's a whole bar right out there. Like, go out there.
Yeah.
But when you so what is, like, because this is such a broad topic, but so I just want the listeners to get in the mindset. Imagine so this is Regency before they built the town center. Or around when the town center was coming up.
Yeah, the town center didn't have as much stores at the time,
but
it was like the big hub of it, like starting from where the Publix is at, going to maybe where Five Below.
Which is the majority of the town center.
Yeah, that was there, but then there was a whole bunch of stores. Like the other side of that wasn't even there.
Okay. Because the reason I bring that up is because I need people to understand, like, the mall, especially in the South. I don't know how it is because I grew up in Florida, so I can only speak to Florida. But the mall is a big deal. I know people talk about it all the time. It's very relatable. When you're younger, you go to the mall and just hang out. A lot of times you won't even buy things. It's just like a hangout spot.
Yeah.
Now, Jacksonville is a very large city in the sense that it's not a metropolitan city in the sense of like New York or Chicago or something like that, but it's still a big city.
Yeah.
So when Regency was at its heyday, it was one of the only malls within like 20 miles.
It's the oldest indoor mall. What do they call it? Climate control, they call it. The oldest climate controlled mall in the Southeast.
Okay. Oh, wow. So it was at one point in a heyday. So when you're working there, it's still busy. It's not like it's not, because now it's a ghost mall. There's like 2 stores, and now they use it for COVID testing, which is crazy because it's like, I know I tweeted this, but it's like when you get inside to the old Sears where they do the testing, it's so desolate, and like there's like cardboard and like plywood up and stuff, and you're like, oh, this seems very apocalyptic. This seems fitting for where the COVID testing would be.
Yeah, and it was wild because I worked from when it was thriving to when it started transitioning into what it's now.
Yeah, so
that was sad to see. It was like I don't know, man. It was like watching a dog get old and die. Like, I miss you, Rusty. You know, like.
So when you were there, what's like the sense? Like, what time do you go in on a Black Friday? Like when you're working security,
early. Yeah, we'd have to, like, because we had an overnight person. We always had an overnight person, and then we always had like an early shift person. So the overnight person would be 12 to 8. The early shift person was like 6 to 2 because I worked the early shift sometimes. Mm-hmm. But then Black Friday they would double up. So they would have 2 midnight people, or maybe 3, depending on what kind of event was going on. Then the early shift, there was like 4 cats that would roll in, and then everybody would come in like an hour or 2 from their normal shift,
earlier,
to cover the overlaps, and stuff. And we had a shitload of cops and stuff like that. It was interesting. A lot of it was just us posted places, just to make sure things didn't get out of hand. You know?
Now, was the substation there when you?
Substation's always been there.
Okay.
Substations, I can't remember when they put it. It was substation was put in when I was like in middle school.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And a substation, for those of you listening who don't know, it's just it's a mini police station.
Yeah.
And so they had that there, and then they had all the overlap with security and everything. So what time do like? I'm curious because I want to know, like, what time do you get there? Like, what time does the mall open? Because traditionally malls are like 9 to 9 or 10 to 9 or something.
Yeah, they had holiday hours usually. Like from the Black Friday going into basically Christmas or Christmas Eve, it was like holiday hours. So they would like some weeks they would open up like an hour early for the entire mall, but Black Friday they would open up usually like 6:30.
Get the fuck
6:30,
outta here.
7:30. Yeah, well, because the stores would open up.
Yeah, that's what that's what I figured.
So we'd get there. Oh god, that sucked. But it was like because of the mall that we worked at, it was like you couldn't be tired. You had to like show up ready.
Yeah,
especially during the heyday, like because also before I worked security, I used to be like a Black Friday headhunter.
Yeah.
Like I was ruthless.
You do the Picker Brother thing now.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if you want to promote that. That's the thing you do with your brother, right?
Yeah. I do. I'm a picker, or some people call it a reseller.
Yeah.
It's where you go to like thrift stores and flea markets and stuff, and you pick things and you buy it, and then you flip it on online or Facebook Marketplace or stuff like that.
Okay. So you've always had that kind of mentality of like, oh, I can get a few of these and then turn around and sell them.
Yes.
So that's nothing new to you.
Yeah. Or just like if my mom's like, hey, grandma needs a toaster.
Yeah.
And I was like, toasters are $2 at Target. I'll fucking fight somebody. Like that there's a real true story where I think it was like a DVD player. This is when DVD players were still like expensive.
Yeah.
And they had a
DVD. Yeah,
DVD.
because back then they were like $200-$300.
Yeah, dude, they had a DVD player sell. I can't remember. It was like
Circuit City?
$25. No, it was at Target.
Okay.
I Oklahoma drilled somebody's aunt. I barrel rolled this bitch into a display of like holiday socks.
Was it the last DVD player?
I don't even know.
There's like 12 on the
I just didn't want to take a chance. No, they were getting low. I'm like, grandma wants a DVD player. You know, I'm not even sure if my grandma knew how to use it for like a year. But like, I barrel rolled this bitch into a holiday sock display. Then like her husband or some guy, like he stepped up and I just stared into his soul like, you want some? You're next.
Yeah.
And then I stepped over the lady and walked away. Oh, dude, I was brutal.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Okay. So knowing how people can get i.e. me.
Yeah.
I would watch for behaviors. I would call like I would have my radio ready. I'm like, hey, get visual of so and so over here. Like I'd watch the clenched fists.
Yeah.
You know, like people getting agitated. You know, before it got to the point where people really needed to get agitated. So I'm like, those are the people to watch for. Those are the behaviors, because I was that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? And that's
So.
what I was going to say is that I've known you for, God, a while now. And I think we told this story in the last episode, but if not, I just want to touch on it real quick. Marcus is the most cuddly, fun-loving, nicest, sweetest sweet boy you'll ever meet. Unless you, like, I want to say, like, almost like pose a threat or something like that. Would you agree with that? Like, we've been in situations, you and I, where we're talking, everything seems like it's fine, and then some random drunk guy will walk up downtown or something. And I come from the service industry, so I'm very much like, yeah, man, like, no, we're good. We're like, you know, I tried, like, the same way I would talk to drunk guests. It's kind of like, yeah, man, no, we're fine. And I've seen you on a dime, like, we're having a conversation about something, laughing and giggling, and then you just turn and you're like, not today, man. Yeah. Not today. And I'm like, you're gonna murder him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also like a space thing. It's a space thing. Like when you work in like security or like law enforcement, like there's like a bubble. It's like your bubble is like a very self-defense-y type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, but like it's something I wish went away.
Well,
but
no,
I can't shake it.
I really appreciate it, because that makes a whole lot of sense, you saying the bubble thing, because it's one of those things where they're like drunk or they're fucked up, and they always like walk right up on you or right up on us, and they're like within an arm's reach of us. And that's when, because I've seen you talk to people before who like we don't know or anything, and like as long as they're like away from us, you always seem cool. Yeah. But that makes a lot more sense, because when they come up within that arm's reach, you're always like you see it, like I see it in your eyes. It's like he didn't even do, like, why is Marcus like getting like this? But now it makes a lot of sense.
But it's I almost act like a dog.
Yeah.
Like dogs are the same way. Like if they they'll like they'll arc up or whatever. But then when you don't sense that, then that's when they're like, "Brr, brr, 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 brr,"
Yeah.
you know. So,
So you are very protective, and now you use what you learned from being a headhunter on Black Friday to translate into. So what? Give us some of the examples of stuff, like some stories that you might have from, like things getting a little out of control, like.
Well, we almost had a fucking riot.
Like a full-on riot?
A full-on riot. They had a Jordan shoe release on Black Friday.
Okay. Now, I don't want to talk about. I know where you're going with this,
Yeah.
I think, but I want the listeners to know when I asked Marcus to tell a story about Regency on Black Friday, you're not going to hear a lot about like little fights or anything like that, because that was Regency. That happened all the time. That's nothing special. So that's why because people listening might be like, oh, there was a couple of fights, like that's not a big deal. But what you're talking about is on a whole other level.
Oh yeah, I mean, whew, we had
because fights was just the 9 to 5 at Regency.
Yeah, but we didn't have just regular fights. I have a distinct memory of literally using a table as a shield while people chuck chairs at one another.
Are you serious?
I'm dead fucking serious. So anyone listening to like, oh, fights, you can go fuck yourself. Because,
absolutely. I don't think people grasp fully, because like a lot of people when they think mall, like I think of the Volusia Mall, where it's like, yeah, like sometimes it gets a little rowdy, but it's like a couple of.
Yeah.
But Regency, I know. You talk about it. What was it? 7 stabbings, 4 shootings, something crazy. In the 7 years you were there.
You could Google, like right now, you could go on YouTube and look at Regency Square Mall, and there's a video on YouTube of me doing perimeter patrol after I got done doing triage on the gunshot victim. I'm wearing a black jacket, and the reason why is all I'm wearing is an undershirt, because they had to take my security shirt as evidence for the shooting because it was covered in the victim's blood.
Oh my God! So that's the kind of mall we're talking about. So Jordan shoe release, Black Friday. What happens?
Oh man, Jordan shoe. Like I say, so they I'm assuming the Foot Locker. Or, well, I don't know if it's just names of stores, but like the people at that particular shoe store.
It's a ghost mall now.
It's a ghost mall. I don't even know if the Foot Locker's even open, but yeah, at that time, I think the Foot Locker people, I think, were skimming some of the shoes.
Okay.
Like they said that, hey, we got 250, and next thing you know, the employees bought 50 or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what happened. But there was less amounts, and the sizes that they promised were available when some of the people showed up, and people were getting agitated.
Yeah.
So they started like storming the doors, and I was like, I need everyone to back up, and they kept getting closer. And at this point now, they're so close that I can't open the door to get back in.
Oh, to the Foot Locker?
No, to get back inside the mall.
Oh,
because
okay.
we were there at the entrance of the mall. And we were letting in a couple at a time.
Oh, okay.
So they had
okay.
it. Yeah, they had it like
Perfect,
it was
that
like
makes sense.
I was at the door. Then they had someone in the middle. They had someone there, and then it was like.
So they were almost like feeding people into the Foot Locker. Then the Foot Locker wasn't overrun.
Yeah, but then they were coming at me, and the thing is, they were getting so close now, the doors behind me, and it opened up.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get inside. And I was like, I need everyone to back the fuck up. I was losing my
Was
shit.
it just you?
It was just me at the time.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
And I tapped on the window to get their attention. But then at that point, once I get to a certain point of rage, it's like a zone out. Like,
yeah. You see red. Yeah.
It's not good. So now,
Trust me, I know.
And then one of the cops saw what was going on, and I saw the other door. He had a key, hit the key for it, and I saw him like kick open the door, and I saw like a couple bodies get pushed back, and I was like, back the fuck, because at this point I'm just yelling at these people, and he sees it, and he's like, oh, Crespo should have called me. What the fuck, know? And then basically he told everyone, get back in your cars. Everyone get back in your cars. We're shutting this down. We shut it down. And then people like was like it was like a standoff. It's like, no, we're gonna get our shoes, and we're like, no, you're not. It was like 150 people
God,
like storming me. Yeah.
insane.
And I was like, I will throw hands at anyone that gets closer than what you are now. Like, I was serious.
Yeah.
And then like somebody looked at me, and I was like, what, you want some? And I pointed this dude out, and the dude didn't expect it. Like, it was really weird. It was really weird. I don't know.
Were you guys able to diffuse the situation once the cop got out there and everything?
Yeah, basically
because it's hard to wrangle that many people, like. Because what I've noticed in large groups like that is that most people will listen, especially if like guns are involved and stuff. Like, the cop comes out there and like, you're not getting the shoes. Like, I don't care what you do. Like, you're not getting the shoes. But there's always one or two people who are like, no, like, fuck that. We're getting the shoes.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if maybe it escalated.
No, it didn't luckily didn't escalate. then also because what was happening, I guess whoever was on camera watching it, like basically said, "Hey, the motor units, the vehicle units, go out there." Then so people started showing up on my behalf.
Yeah.
I was too prideful to ever call back up.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
That's what I was going to ask you is why didn't you get on the radio? But you're like, nah, I got it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was weird. So my gung ho mentality was one of the reasons a lot of people like working with me. Because they knew I never really needed backup. They would just send it, you know. But another thing was like after that, though, once the other units got there and everyone just like they sent everyone to their vehicles, basically like cooler heads prevailed. And then I started talking to people like, "Hey man, let me yell at you guys," you know. But like
classic Marcus. Hey guys, I'm sorry I did that.
My bad. Crespo get angry sometimes. No, but then, but some of the Black Friday fights, the actual fights were pretty.
Yeah.
There was a nasty one over there by Sears.
Okay.
It was it had to be like 12 dudes.
Who at the time, like on Black Friday and stuff? Because you did it, like you said, 7 years.
Yeah.
What stores were notorious for having like the best sales? Like in the sense that like that's where people would get riled up.
I would say JCPenney.
Yeah.
JCPenney. Belk used to be in the middle. It used to be the gateway store. They had the store you had to walk from East Mall to the West Mall. The one you actually walked through to get to the other side of the mall.
Yeah.
It was the one in the middle. Belk had some ones. Belk also had the nicest stuff out of all the stores.
Okay.
We didn't have a lot of luxury stores after a while.
Yeah.
Like Dillard's turned into a Dillard's clearance center and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Belk had like some of the fancy purse brands and all that stuff like that.
Okay.
So they had the best like Black Friday sales. But they also had the most shopliftings because they had the nicer stuff.
Yeah,
and so a lot of the fights were, a lot of the physical incidents were shoplifting. A lot of shoplifting happened on Black Friday.
Okay, and now we'll get back to the 12 guys at Sears, but I wanted to ask you this: when it comes to shoplifters and stuff, because I know when I managed at restaurants, we had this rule of like you cannot touch the guest. Like you cannot touch them, you cannot put hands on them unless like they like overtly like physically like assault someone. You're not allowed to. And even then, it's like call the police, and it's like yeah. But if he's putting hands on like my server, like I'm not going to let that stand. But they were so adamant about like do not touch the guest, don't go chasing after a guest in a parking lot because they could pull a gun out and shoot you. And once you're out of the building, that's on you. That's not on. So there's all these loopholes and legalities and stuff like that. Now. Is that the case when you're working security? Like if there's a shoplifter, like do you like tackle them to the ground or do you not touch them or do you call the police?
Everything that you said about the restaurant service applied to security.
Okay.
The distinction is once the shoplifter endangered the human bodies of either the other guests or the other loss prevention personnel or other security members, that's when that went right out the window.
Yeah, because like... And when it comes to shoplifting and stuff, like, basically, I guess this is a roundabout way of asking it, but, like, what is to stop them from just walking, like, just continuing to walk out the store?
Oh, loss prevention.
But I'm saying, can loss prevention put their hands on that person?
Basically, any personnel can make a stop if the people hiring that personnel is willing to pay for the legality.
Okay. You see what I'm saying? Because it's one of those things where like, well, if the person keeps walking and you're not allowed to touch them, then you can't really stop them.
Yeah, we weren't an agent of any store. Okay. We were just an agent of the mall.
Of chaos. You were an agent of chaos.
Yeah, essentially. And so like Belk can make the stop because they were an agent of Belk.
Yeah.
So they were retrieving the
Belk's property, and Belk said, you know what, if they want to try and sue over something dumb, we'll handle all the legal stuff. Okay.
But because most people don't want to get caught. I mean, or sometimes even if they knew they were guilty, you have someone that comes out of the blue and grabs you. What's your first instinct?
You're going to hit him.
Or you're going to fight. You're going to fight or get away, that type of thing. So that's when security came into play.
Okay. So the loss prevention guy will grab someone and be like, hey, like you're stealing that.
They would call us. Ahead of time. We're like, hey, we monitor the breezeway or whatever. We got this guy coming out of there.
And the second the shoplifter throws hands, security's allowed to come in because now they're threatening
it depends on how the stop goes.
Okay.
So a lot of times they'll grab the arm and they're like, hey, I'm a loss prevention with Belk. They have to declare who they are. They're like, hey, I'm a loss prevention with Belk. I need you to come back with me to the, I know what you got in your pocket, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, 80% of the times they're like, okay, you got me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay. Yeah.
But
There's that 20%.
And then when they knew there was a flight risk, they would call us. They would,
Okay.
no, actually, all stops. If anytime the stop was going to go outside of the parameters
belt,
of
got it,
yeah,
got it.
They'd be like, "Hey, watch the breezeway." You know, and then sometimes they'll tell us like, "Hey, we got a big one. Like he's 6'4", 230 or something like that."
Yeah.
And because if this
And Marcus goes right up my alley,
oh
baby.
God, I used to get almost chubbed up. I was like full, almost quasi boned up, man, just running out there, you know, because I was like, oh, you know, because that's another thing is like there's a lot of legalities, but like I'm like maybe 5'8" tops,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So from a standpoint of self defense, if they're taller than me, have more reach, or they outnumber me, the amount of people, I don't have to hold back.
Yeah,
I didn't have to, you know, because of that.
You could say, my life
I was
felt
at a
threatened.
disadvantage.
Yeah.
And so,
Which is your favorite thing in the world.
yeah, I was like, how tall is he? All right, I'm on it. You know, come on, man.
I'm gonna fuck this dude up.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. It was some brutal ones. We messed some people up, man.
So what happened to Sears? So you said it's outside of Sears on one Black Friday. 12 people, I think you said.
Yeah. This one was, I think a dude rode up with his girlfriend.
Okay.
She was smoking or something like that, and some jits decided to, just bird collar. You know? And the one dude was like, "Don't do that shit." And then
the boyfriend said to the young kids,
No, I don't even think it's boyfriend. I think it was just a homie of the dude.
Okay.
Yeah, he stepped.
So the guy's there with his girl and a couple of his buddies, and then
Yeah.
all these young kids start catcalling his girl, and then his friend was like, "Yo, chill out."
Yeah, and then the other guy was like, "Go fuck yourself."
Oh.
and then
That's all it takes in Regency,
it
baby.
just got crazy. They fought from, I don't know if you remember. So basically, like the indoor entrance of Sears,
Mm-hmm.
they fought from there all the way, probably like 20 yards. They fought from there. It got outside. Now there's like just 12 people just throwing hands.
Now it's outside.
They're outside. They fought probably 40 yards. For 40, just imagine going.
Are
to,
they outside the mall or outside
They
Sears?
were inside the mall.
Inside the mall,
and then
but
they fought
outside.
all the way to the outside.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be like being at the end zone and then fighting your way to the 40-yard line.
Just throwing hands and stuff.
Just throwing hands.
Now, what do you guys do in that situation? Because the fight is between, and I'm curious about this, because a lot of times with the shoplifters and stuff, the fight is between the shoplifter and loss prevention because they don't want to get caught.
Oh, no.
Now, what happens when it's a fight? I know you said you've worked countless fights. What happens when it's a fight between two patrons of the mall? Because
we fuck up everybody.
okay, yeah, because
we don't have to wait. Like if they were physically engaged in the fight when I rolled in, I just take out the nearest person. It was,
Okay.
It was like a kickoff, and you're on especially
Just running down the field,
fucking just wail on somebody.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was. A lot of times, like as I started working there and I started being able to like focus on who might be the main culprits, I would go after them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times we would break up a fight and then we'd take someone back to the office, we review footage, and it's like just some dude that
got punched by accident and started fighting. Yeah.
So we want to try to focus on getting like the culprits of it.
Yeah.
But if it's like 12 people, anything goes, baby.
Yeah.
You're in my way, you get a fist or
You're
an
in
elbow
my
or
house
a knee.
now, Well, because like you can't. Obviously, because part of me is like, well, I mean, if it's between like those people, like let them sort it out. But at the same time, it's a mall. Like you can't have people having a full-on 6-on-6 Royal Rumble in the mall.
People bitch at us too. They were like, "Man, you guys are so mean." I was like, "Yeah, but what happens if you got sucked in that tornado of fight?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's why we're doing this.
A little old lady gets punched in the face because they're just swinging.
It's happened. I've seen like people throwing hands and somehow like somebody's 6-year-old gets a rogue fist or something like that. But yeah, it was so that got crazy because then one of the old timer guys, this guy's about like 46 years old or something like that, and he comes out there and this guy's like, "I ain't fighting nobody." He just starts pepper spraying everybody.
Are you serious?
He pepper sprayed 2 of our security guys. By accident. Just starts pepper spraying. We're like, "What the hell, man?" He goes, "Man, I'm too old to be dealing with that shit." Yeah, it was the funniest thing.
Like Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. I'm too old for this shit.
Oh, it was very, it was so funny, man. It was like, I got lucky because at that point, I was on the opposite side. So, cause then it split, like the 12 people split, and then it was like a group over here and a group over there.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I think I fucking like suplexed a kid into the bushes or something. Yeah, it was nasty. Yeah, because he tried to swing on me.
Yeah, well,
he tried to swing on me, and then I grabbed both. He had both his arms behind me, and I just like
full Nelson, and then threw him back.
Oh yeah, I got lucky though. There was a couple times where I I did some, like I drop kicked the dude one time.
Just full on,
Full on. That hurt.
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, but my adrenaline was too high.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it until like much later. And I was like, I should have did that. I ran and drop kicked. I was
Oh
like
my
full
God.
sprint and then, yeah.
Wham.
Yeah. I speared a dude in the bushes one time. I heard like it was my favorite thing was like running and then hitting someone.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
hearing that, like where the
The wind gets knocked out of him.
oh, you know that.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
looking at
very
your jersey
aware.
right now, baby.
I'm very aware. Did you I wanted to ask you this because a lot of times we talk about, and I know you joke about, winning fights, but did you ever get your ass kicked?
No.
Yeah, my boy.
Oh, dude, and this is such a shitty thing to do. I used to like whenever like kids would, like run their mouth to me like "fuck you, Paul Blart," like they weren't doing anything, so I couldn't touch them, but I would try to goad them into like getting in my bubble because
Yeah.
they got my. So I would just run my mouth. I'm like, you don't want this, man. Baby, I'm 56-0. Like I would increase the number as the years progressed.
Like Goldberg.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, I had an undefeated streak. The only time I quote unquote lost a fight was one time I was full sprinting, and at the time there was a little guest service chick that I was this is during a break during my relationship. There was a guest service girl that I was kind of like messing around with, whatever, and so a fight broke out in front of where she worked at. And I'm like, oh, daddy's gonna. I wanted to like wail on somebody in front of her, get her all hot bothered or whatever. And I was full sprinting, and I lost my footing.
Oh no!
And I hit ground and skid on my face for like 4 feet.
Oh no!
4 feet. Here's the problem. Like one of the jewelry store guys thought that was the funniest fucking thing ever. I got up and I ran after the guys. None of the other security people knew. And so we got back to the office. They're like, Crespo, did someone hit you? Your face is really red.
Your
I'm
face
like,
is all fucked up.
your face is all red, man. And I'm like, oh no, it's not good. And then
Oh, that's not good.
that's not good. And then they're like, now my security.
That's your response? Hey man, your face is all messed up. Oh, that's not good.
Pretty much. And then
Not what happened. Not are you
then
okay?
I try to play off what happened, and now my security director is like, "What happened, Crespo?
Yeah.
What happened?"
You're
Like
trying to play it off so you
they
don't
thought I
have
was
to.
being prideful about
Yeah.
getting hit because I had this like reputation to be like just, "Ah," yeah. And I was like,
That's
I
not
fell.
good.
Okay, I fell, and they're like, "Did you break anything?" Now I have to do a report.
Oh,
I had to do a
no,
report.
yeah.
And I fell during the fight. I lost my footing. And they're like, "Where'd you fall?" I'm like, "Oh my God!" And so now I'm like, "No, I'm no more. No. I didn't fall. I slapped myself. I was just so amped up." And they're like, "No, you fell. Where'd you fall? We have to show me where you fell." And so I had to show them. And then we couldn't find the footage. So I'm like, thank God, I didn't want no one seeing that.
Yeah.
And then one savvy camera operator was like, "Oh, I found it.
It's right here."
It was dead on." And then they didn't. Then they're like, "Huh, replay that." And they played it backwards, and everyone lost their shit because
Yeah.
it was funny because it was literally me skidding on my face and then to get back up and running.
Yeah,
it was
running back.
And
yeah.
so then they replayed footage of me falling on my face probably for like 3 weeks.
That's
yeah.
Well, it's hilarious. The whole story is hilarious, but my favorite part is like what happened. Like other people being genuinely concerned because there was a fight and being like, "Marcus, like your face is fucked up." And you're like, "Oh, it's not. That's not good."
I ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah, and then the supervisor coming over and being like, "Well, what happened?" And you're like, "I fell." And in your head, you're like, all right, we'll just leave it at that. And then it's like,
Yeah.
well, where did you fall? How far away was it?
Oh,
How
God.
bad did you fall? Like, and then it's like,
Yeah.
never mind, I didn't fall.
Yeah, and so here's the asshole part of me. Like everyone's genuinely concerned for me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no one needs to know about this.
Yeah.
You know? Like it's
I think because that's embarrassing too. It's like you're the guy, the go-to guy when it comes to fights, and it's like, oh man, Marcus might have finally gotten tagged, and it's like, no, just lost my balance right in front of the girl that I really liked.
yeah, gravity beat my ass. Yeah,
Sometimes that's all it takes, man. Sometimes it's just gravity.
Yeah, because it was. But another thing was, it sucked too because also on that same footage was me hauling ass. Like I was cooking it. Like the people used to get really caught off guard by how fast I was.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm the same way. People
Yeah.
see me and they're like, "Oh, you're slow," and it's
Yeah.
like, I've got pretty fast twitch muscles. Like,
yeah, dude.
you'll beat me if it's over 100 yards. You'll beat me, but anything like 10 to 30 yards, like I'm good.
Yeah, and in those days, I used to when in between like patrol areas, we had a lot of back corridors, and I would actually do stretches and calisthenics in the corridors and stuff,
just to stay loose.
Yeah, because I was just like, no one's taking down the champ.
Yeah,
it was really weird. It was a weird environment, but yeah. But no, I got
weird,
lucky.
Psychotic, tomato.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I got lucky with is now every other dude bro is in a jiu-jitsu gym.
Yeah,
Or, in those days, maybe honestly, early days was before Kimbo Slice fight videos.
Yeah,
so most dudes just knew how to like brawl, like box, like that's how they fought.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that it's weird because MMA is, I know, like for the people who love MMA, it's been around forever since the 80s or the 70s. But for a lot of like dude bros, and I know when I was playing college football, like a lot of the guys on the team and like some of the frat guys and stuff, like we didn't get into it until probably like 2008, 2009, maybe even 2010 is when we'd actually all get together and like go to, Duffy's or something to watch a fight, or Ale House to watch a fight.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys were watching it. They weren't like actively in the gym.
Well, and then I was gonna, then it steadily, as it grew and grew, people were like, oh, all these MMA gyms started popping up and jiu-jitsu and everything like that. Like, then it became more and more popular, and it's crazy because I remember in 2012 getting into a bar fight. It wasn't even a fight, but this guy was like half my size, must have been like 5'6", 5'7". Like he was built, but he was like skinny. Yeah. And I remember I used to get in fights all the time at bars when I would drink because I'm a loudmouth, and I would just start, sometimes it's like I don't fight obviously really anymore unless I'm cornered. But back then, when you're in your mid-20s, it's fun to fight. Yeah. Like, so I remember this guy, his buddy kept talking shit, like, and him and I were going back and forth. I completely forget. I think it was about a girl or something. And his buddy and I were going back and forth. And then I turned to him and I was like, I was going to say like, what? You're too cool. Like, you don't, before I could say, I said, what? And he went, and I was out.
Oh, man.
Just hit me twice, and I fell to the ground. He was so fast and so, like, just ready. And that's something that you and I talk about now. It's the quiet people that you have to watch out for.
Absolutely.
So his buddy's being a loudmouth, and I know his buddy's not going to do anything. So I turned to him, and, dude, I literally, like, just fell to the ground. Didn't knock me out, but, like, I fell to the ground, and I kind of, like, got up and just turned and walked away. And I was like, all right, we're good. But I couldn't imagine trying to do what you guys had to do back then now with everybody and their uncle doing MMA and jiu-jitsu and all that.
I think we would be, I wouldn't say at a disadvantage because we had tactical training. Yeah. We had we learned arm bars and wrist locks and knee locks and all kinds of stuff. It was like a full day, and we had to show up in street clothes because we actually would do it on one another and stuff like that. And the guy that trained us was cool. He was like he was a pro officer, and he was also one of our supervisors. And the guy that trained him used to be a JSO officer, who had, I believe, 4 confirmed kills by hand.
Oh God!
He used to be the guy that trained our security staff. Yeah, that guy. But then that guy retired, and then he was getting older and stuff like that. So he trained this guy, and this guy that trained us was like 6'4", used to be a college linebacker. Built. Just long arms and just built like a shit brick house. Yeah. And he if that was the closest thing to me getting my ass handed to me was our tactical training.
Was the training?
He was using me as a goddamn Swiffer. Like I was just getting the floor mopped with me. Yeah. But like also another reason probably why my loss count was goose egg was I was just ruthless with everybody. Yeah. Men, women, like. Going back to Black Friday, we had a shoplifting happened at Black Friday. They were trying to detain the girl. She was a thicker girl. Also, she was like heavily lotioned. She had a lot of lotion on, and they were trying to cuff her. And they had the one cuff on, but the other one was unhooked. It was like loose. Yeah. And they were trying to get it over, and they couldn't get it. And I was like, calm down. And she's like fighting. And now the piece of the cuff, I've seen video. They showed us videos of people getting fish hooked with a cuff. Oh yeah. And splitting the mouth all the way up to the ear, basically.
Yeah, like the Joker.
Yeah, dude. And so basically, I was like, enough of that. They're like kit gloves in there too, kind of. And so I said, fuck that. And I put her in a front face lock and basically choked her out.
Yeah, but I'm sure you got the cuff on then, right?
Oh yeah. Her arms are real limp. I mean, but like, it's so weird because it's like I talk about it, like candidly now, but like I sit and I'm like, God, it's weird because I did it because I didn't want anybody else to get hurt, including her, honestly. But at the same time, it's like it's such a weird thing to be like, yeah, I front face locked this chick, you know.
Well, and it's weird too because when you think about it, like some of the stuff seems maybe like overkill, or some of the stuff seems like it's not that big of a deal when it comes to like, oh, they just stole like, you know, a $100 purse. Like, what's the big deal?
But you weren't there, man.
But well, and the thing too is like that's not what this is put in place for. It's put in place for people who, like you said, a 6-year-old gets brushed up into this fight. Now all of a sudden, this little 6-year-old's getting the shit kicked out of him because he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Those are the instances that you have to worry about. And because it's so unpredictable, you have to treat every instance like it could turn into that.
Yeah.
So that's what people need to understand is that, like, yeah, in most cases, it's not a big deal. And in most cases, nothing is going to happen. But if it just happens one time, that's enough reason to treat it like that every time. Yeah. Because you don't know. And I used to, I mean, I tell, because, you know, I have that bit about being a defensive driver and stuff. And I used to, with Alyssa, because she was kind of an aggressive driver, and I get so frustrated because I'd be like she'd honk or flick somebody off, and, you know, we've all have friends or girlfriends or even personal experience of doing that. And I used to always flip out because I'm like, it just takes one person that's having a bad day that has a gun in their car, and this whole thing's over. Yeah. And that's the same thing when it comes to the security. It's like, it just takes one person who's trying to shoplift, and then all of a sudden, like, they're pulling out a knife or pulling out a gun. Like, you don't know.
So I've gotten real lucky. Yeah. I've gotten real, like, I like, especially involving certain fights and stuff with, like, gang members, like known gang members. Because we had, like, at one point, we had, this is the type of mall that we were dealing with. Regularly, we would have a gang unit specialist come through, just walk the mall, and come back to the office, and then have us watch certain people because they were wearing gang-affiliated shirts. We had 17, up to 17 known gangs that frequent regularly Regency Square Mall, including the Hell's Angels, stuff like that, biker gangs, Bloods, Crips. But then it was like the small, no-name local street gangs where we had to watch because they were always trying to make a name for themselves, stuff like that. Yeah. But I got lucky, man. I mean, I not to say I didn't get threatened, but I was such a loose cannon that, like, I should be shot because, like, one dude threatened to quote unquote clap me, and I was like, "Fucking do it!" And it was brutal.
But that's the thing is, like, you have to treat every situation like it could devolve into that because you don't know. So that's why sometimes, like, it's weird because I'm sure a lot of people's pushback would be like, well, you don't need to treat everyone like they're going to hurt other people. It's like, yeah, you do, because you don't fucking know.
I think the difference is, like, basically the transition for me was when I got into my car accident, like about a year or two before I quit. Was basically you treat everybody like they're a potential threat, but you don't go actively seeking getting into shit. That was the difference. That's the difference between me then when I first started there and a lot of these cops that are like they're just actively trying to.
Well, and that's what I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I wanted to say. What I'm talking about is when there's a fight happening in the mall. I'm not talking about pulling somebody over. I'm not talking about just walking the street and just assuming people are criminals. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're in a situation where people are actively fighting or actively stealing or actively doing something illegal in that moment. What I'm saying is then it is necessary to make sure you can control the situation. Yeah. I'm not, because the way I said it, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of like I'm all for, like, seeking out. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in those situations because I know that, like you said, people have threatened your life. You don't know if someone's got, because it doesn't take that many pounds of pressure to stab someone with a knife. Like, you don't know what's in somebody's purse or somebody's pocket or something like that. So if they're actively already, like, engaging with you, that's when you have to kind of turn it on. Like, all right, we need to squash this right now. Yeah,
and it sucks though because, like, before I got on with security, we used to be able to carry batons. Oh, God. Little asps. Yeah. And then what happened was during a fight, somebody got a hold of it and just started wrecking house, dude. Yeah. Like, cracked, like, 3 skulls or something like that.
Jesus. Yeah. Well, and that's the difference, too, because what I'm talking about and what we are talking about is you working security. So, obviously, you're not walking around with, gun, like, you had pepper spray and restraints, I'm assuming.
Oh, cuffs.
Cuffs. Okay.
And then
I didn't
people
know
are
if you
like,
had
what
the
else do
zip
you have?
ties or
And
the
I'll
handcuffs.
just hold up my fist and be like, law and order.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's the thing is
Yeah.
like you don't. You could kill somebody. Obviously, you're a big, strong guy, but like what? You're not walking around with like. So like when I say you need to de-escalate the situation, obviously you're not going to like pull out a gun and shoot somebody because you don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is it's all from the.
I never
physical
even used my
aspect.
pepper spray.
Oh yeah, see
Yeah, because
exactly.
my thing was like I'm not trying to kill people.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to refrain them from hurting other people. The one thing that kind of irks me sometimes about people in like law enforcement or military or something. They're like, we gotta give my life like that, because that's your job.
Yeah.
Like I know that sounds terrible, but that's your job. But like even though I get zero respect working mall security at the time, my job was to make sure that the other people that are just there to shop,
Yeah.
that are just there to go to the arcade or eat at the food court or whatever, don't get hurt because some dipshit wants to start some shit. You know,
Yeah,
that type of thing.
exactly.
And I was willing to put my body and
Life.
surprisingly
Yeah.
life on the line plenty of times. You know, because that was my job to do that.
Yeah.
That's my job to do that. Like
That's
so,
what you signed up for. Yeah.
Yeah,
You knew what you were getting into.
yeah.
Maybe not at the level of Regency, but
I mean, they prefaced us.
Oh, did they?
When during well, I mean, I was like 23 when I first
Yeah.
started. So they're like, "How do you feel about getting in fights?" I'm like, "I love getting in fights." Yeah, as long as
I was born in the darkness.
yeah, because I also did like a little bit of like freelance bounce work before I
Yeah.
did. So yeah, it was just,
I think all of us that are pretty big guys always end up doing freelance, like private or contracted out, like bouncer work. Like,
yeah.
And I say freelance to make it sound better, but it's really just a buddy who's a bartender who's like, hey, man, we're going to have a really busy night. We'll pay you like $50. You want to come by, just wear a black shirt and jeans and stand
Pretty much.
outside?
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like,
yeah.
but we say freelance because it sounds a lot better.
Oh yeah, it sounds more professional.
Yeah, than helping out a buddy.
Yeah, you can put that on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, freelance security. Instead of I was helping out a buddy that owns a bar.
Yeah, I just sat at an entrance and looked at IDs.
Yeah. I tried to make that into a bit, but I think it doesn't resonate because it's not super relatable. But in Daytona, like when I went back there, and everyone who listens has heard the story about me blowing through that $26,000 in 28 days, and I know you know that story. But
Yeah.
when I started to run out of money, a lot of times what I would do is just put on a black shirt and jeans, and I'd just go to a bar and just stand outside, and then people I would just stand there. And people would walk up, show me their IDs, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's $5 tonight, guys." And they'd be like,
I've actually thought about doing that. That's awesome.
and they're like, "We come here all the time." Like a lot of times it's tourists, but sometimes it's regulars. And like, we come here all the time. There's never a cover. I go, "No, there's a good band tonight. Good band tonight." And
That's hilarious.
they'd be like, "All right, whatever." And then, like, see, and I thought it was super funny because I used to do that, but I tried it on stage a couple times, and like people didn't get it, and I was like, "Oh, maybe this is more of like a story versus an actual like bit."
It's got legs.
Yeah.
It's something to work
But
on, yeah.
it always, I only did it 2 or 3 times, and it always ended up where a bartender or something, one of these fucking assholes going in would tell the bartender, like, "Oh, there's a band tonight?" And the bartender's like, "No, like, what are you talking about?" They're like, "The bouncer outside said there's a band. He charged us." And then they're like, "We don't have a bouncer."
That sounds like a ghost story.
Yeah, and then someone
He's
would,
been dead for 15 years.
and then I would always keep an eye like towards the front, and then if I ever saw anybody like walking towards the door, I'd be like, "All right, I'm out. Bye."
I'm clocked out.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow, Dave. You know,
But yeah, freelance bouncer or freelance security.
what would be awesome is if you just hung up a picture of you and it said like the year that you died was that year.
Oh my god! And then people would be like, "Wait, no, we saw him." And then when they ran outside, they saw the picture with the dates. That's Brennan. He's been dead for 10 years.
Yeah, but that ghost owes me $5.
Yeah,
Man.
what happened? You could make it. You could make a quick like $50-$60 doing that though, if you can get like a little line going.
That's awesome.
Oh man. Anyway, back to Black. Now after Black Friday, was there any other big shopping days at the mall?
Probably the week or so before Christmas.
I was gonna say
Or
like
the
last
week
minute
during-
shoppers and stuff.
last minute shoppers. So yeah, because sometimes the stores would do like sales and stuff like that.
Now, was there ever? Did you ever notice? Because we're talking about a lot of the negative aspects of it, but did you ever notice anything? Like, was there ever any time like you had someone come through the mall who would bring a bunch of toys or like all sorts of shit? You know what I mean?
It's so funny you said it because like I almost feel bad for saying so much stuff about Regency because I'm going to be performing there and like the mall is so different now.
Yeah.
You know? And it's
this was a decade ago.
The few stores that are there are probably struggling.
Yeah.
COVID and everything like that. But one of the things I used to actively do, especially after the accident and everything, was when I'm like on my quest to find peace,
Yeah.
or whatever. Was if I saw
Act 2 of this movie.
Act 2, yeah, exactly, yeah. I would whenever I saw something like, especially like like the stigmatization of that mall was like the hood mall. There was a lot of people that would say like racist shit to me,
Yeah.
and I was like, hey man, like one time I had this guy ask me for where a store was, and I'm like, yeah, it's there. He goes, oh, I go, hey, they got a store, they got a sale tonight or something like that. He goes, I don't like to be here at night, he goes, it gets dark at night, and I go, yeah, well, it's nighttime, and he goes, he looked at me, I'm like, oh, yeah, I just told him to get out of my face because I was like upset. There's a lot
You're
of racist.
so innocent with that. Like,
I am.
It's nighttime.
Yeah.
That's not good. What happened to your face? That's not good.
So whenever I saw like one time I remember there was a like a homeless lady walking by like the AMC or something, and this was around holiday time, and she dropped all of her bags, and I saw this young black kid come up there and help her out and stuff, and then he gave her. She didn't ask. She didn't solicit. Just gave her some money, and then she went about her day. Then he sat on the little bench in front of the AMC, and he was waiting for someone. And I think it was his aunt. He was gonna watch a movie with his aunt. I'm like, this is getting better and better. And so I saw that, and I was like, I gotta say something. Because the aunt didn't know he did that.
Yeah.
And so I went up to the aunt and I go, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, I just saw this. And she got a little alarmed because I'm in full security gear.
Yeah.
And I'm approaching her son and her nephew. And I go, and she goes, what happened? And I'm like, nothing. Actually, I'm here to say something good that he did. And she was like, the change in her expression. And I go, this is what I saw him do. I said, he helped this lady with her bags and then gave her money. She didn't ask. Clearly she was homeless. He realized that. I said, I just want to say kudos. Like, and it was just a dynamic and shift in energy. Yeah. And I was like, oh, because especially young black kids, they don't, so at that mall, especially at that mall, it was like they were seen as like the problem.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. And so for me being security, the person who usually is taking them in and all that stuff, to come and do that. And so that became my new thing, was like try to, like I befriended a lot of like the kids that were like, my security director used to say they loitered, but I'm like, where the hell are they gonna go? Yeah. They're not here. They're hanging out at the food court and they're at the arcade. What do you want them to do? Sell drugs? Come on, man, get off their back. That type of thing. So like I saw a lot of that sweetness. I would whenever I saw people holding doors for people, stuff like that, I wanted to shift the energy from like knee strikes to like praising people for doing nice stuff, because a lot of those people, especially at that mall, because of the stigma, I don't know. They weren't used to hearing it, especially from someone like me in the uniform with my stupid little drill sergeant hat and all that crap.
Yeah.
And so like I saw a lot of that stuff. I've seen people in line and they got a kid and like they're at Auntie Anne's or something like that, and then they go to the register to buy their stuff and they're like, oh, that person just paid for your order, type of thing. Yeah. And then honestly, because we were the agents of chaos, but we were also the protectors. A lot of the food court people, man, hooked us up, man.
Really?
I put on a lot of weight up in that bitch. Yeah, especially like at Sparrow Pizza when they were still around. They when you worked a closing shift, if you went up to Sparrow like right before they closed, you could haggle. You could basically just drop them a 5 spot, and they would literally give you whatever was left.
Yeah, because they have to throw it out.
Yeah. And like that was me and like 2 other guys were like the people that were cool with the Sparrow Cats.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, guess what? Santa Crespo or Bravo 5 is in the building, Yeah. And I would have like 5 pizza boxes, one, and then another box full of like Strombolis and all kinds of stuff. Oh my
God, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
So what do you just Santa Bravo 5's in the building?
Yeah.
Did you that's hilarious. Did you when you were working security and stuff like that, was Black Friday and the holiday season, was that the worst time to, like, as far as the fighting and just the congestion of how many people were in there and all that?
Yeah, because it was the busiest.
Yeah,
it was the busiest. Because people that didn't normally shop at Regency would come there because it was like a mall. It was a mall, and like so they knew the town center would be crowded. So they'd be like, well, maybe Regency has something. Like,
okay,
it was just that mindset, like. people that don't normally go to those places will just start coming in droves.
Yeah,
you know?
well, because then I didn't know either, just because it seems like, you hear a lot, if you watch like police shows or stuff like that, they always talk about how like the summertime it can be very violent because the hotter it gets, the more agitated
Oh, that's
people
true.
get.
That's true too.
So I didn't know if like working at Regency, if it was like when you had more people there in the wintertime, but it's a festive thing. Like, so yeah, there's more people, but it's like more of a holiday spirit. If that was more dangerous or more things would happen versus the summertime when people have nothing to do and they're just kind of out in the heat all day.
Now, both of those seasons, like the hottest of the summer and the coldest of the winter time, was when we had a lot of problems with homeless people.
Okay,
because they're looking for relief.
Yeah.
And we have to they would the amount of harassment we did to some homeless people. I regret.
Yeah.
But it was my job to be like, hey, sir, like you can't
hang out.
You can't be sleeping on this bench here at the entrance of the mall.
Yeah,
that type of stuff. And like how I responded to it when I first started versus how I responded to it when
later.
it was very different.
Yeah, the growth of Marcus Crespo.
Yeah, the growth of me as a person. But yeah, that was especially when I worked overnight. Because that mall, I think it was haunted, man. It was. Oh yeah, it was some creepiness involved.
Some ghost stories,
huh?
Were there some ghost stories going on in there?
Yeah, I think you said gross. I'm like both gross
Both.
and ghost.
Gross and ghosts.
Yeah. Because like I remember a couple times hearing like noises in the corridor, and I was scared, but I had to like also be like security.
Yeah.
So
you also had to do your job.
So it was just like, I will fuck up whoever's here.
Yeah, you got to go the other way with that. You can't be timid going into that situation.
I was like overly aggressive. Like, what am I gonna do? Fight a demon?
Yeah,
like,
right. That would be awesome. Yeah. But the prodigal son returns. You're back there this Saturday.
This Saturday at iBridge, I think is what it's called.
What is iBridge? What is that?
I guess it's.
You told me it's an artist showcase, but what is the actual location? Do you know?
Oh, what is it?
Yeah.
Oh, apparently it's like I guess they help with big small businesses and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Maybe like I tried to read the description, but it was like
I was just gonna pull it up.
Okay, go pull it up, man.
No.
It's a lot of words that I'm not gonna properly describe because Crespo don't do big words.
I don't do big words good.
I don't do big words. Yeah. It's a pretty good. And the thing is, the dude that books it, he reached out to me, and like he was basically was talking about like like what it would cost to.
So is it iBridge, like iBridge?
Yeah, the letter I.
Yeah,
and then bridge. I think it's on Facebook. They have a Facebook thing.
Wow. Don't Google it because Jacksonville is the city of bridges. So if you Google anything that has bridge in it,
like what? I don't want to hear about the Buckman Bridge. What the fuck?
All right. Well, it's at iBridge. It's in the mall, Regency Square Mall. It'll be this Saturday, 6 to 8. It's a full artist showcase featuring comedian Marcus Crespo, and then who was the other comic you said?
Leroy Gordon.
I
think he's the host of it too.
Oh, is he? Okay,
yeah.
That'll be cool. We're getting back into it, man. We're starting to do comedy again.
Yeah.
Well, you've been on it since you first came on to my show what was that, 2-3 months ago?
Yeah.
You've been back.
I technically been doing comedy again, like probably I would say routinely, but because of everything going on.
Yeah.
But like probably since August, because that's when I did the show with Ben.
Okay. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I was at that show. What do you just kind of transition from the violence?
Yeah.
What do you you're taking, because I've been with you at shows and stuff, and you take more precautions than most everybody else around you, as far as the PPE and all that kind of stuff. You always got your mask with you, I see, and then you always have stuff in the car.
Yeah, I mean, part of it also is because I do the DoorDash stuff, so that's required.
Okay,
it's required. But like, it's another thing. It's kind of I guess I gotta try to lead by example.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some cats get a little reckless. I think the most reckless I've gotten at a show is like when we do the after show picture.
Yeah.
And I take the mask off for the picture, but then I put it back on. But like I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing, and I know there's a lot of people that are like upset that guys like me are even doing shows.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on. I mean, we don't have to get too much into it because I know you and I have talked about it, but it's weird because I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts. Comedy is it. There is no plan B. Like for me, I know for you, it's comedy, and that's our lives. That has been our lives for a while. But it's weird because I see these are huge name comedians, people that everybody know, and they're doing shows, and be it Bert Kreischer he started the whole drive-in thing. At the beginning of the summer, what Chappelle's doing in Yellow Springs with the Chappelle Saves the Summer, doing the outdoor distance shows and stuff. And they're all doing it, but, they have the means to accomplish those things, and they have the name recognition, and they're obviously, very incredibly successful comedians. And then, you trickle down to people who are on your level, and then trickle down even further to people who are on my level. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, but we don't get the opportunity to host our own like Lollapalooza because we just don't have the funds to do it or the space to do it. And so it's one of those things where I know I've gotten some pushback from family members and stuff about doing shows, but I wanted to kind of get your take on this. Because for me, that comedy, and I know you and I have talked about this, I've talked about this with other guests, but this is life. So there is a pandemic, and I understand that, and we are taking every precaution that we can, but this is what we do. So as long as, like, if I can still go to the fucking restaurant and serve people, like, if I'm still, then I can still, and I'm taking all the precautions necessary, wiping down mics, wearing masks, being socially distant, then I can still go do comedy.
That's the pushback I have with those people. I understand what they're saying, and especially right now as the temperatures drop, like this becomes more of a risk. But at the same time, those same people are probably still ordering from DoorDash.
Yeah, exactly.
The same people that are bitching and whining and are like, I also have to go do that.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't doing a show, they're like, well, no. You know how many restaurants I visit in a day doing DoorDash or something like that, or any job? How many people come to me still?
Yeah, I see 300 to 400 customers a day.
We can't do it. They're not. The government's not going to do a complete shutdown. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the most ideal thing to flatten the curve or whatever the case is. But like, so yeah, there's a weird guilt thing I feel when I do it, but also at the same time, a lot of the shows, especially when I first started jumping back into shows, a lot of the shows that I was on was like fundraisers for the venue to make sure they didn't close their doors.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And I know that sounds like I'm just using that as an example to excuse myself for doing shows, but like honestly, at this point, I think every show I do is almost a mini fundraiser for the venue.
Yeah.
Like I did one this past Saturday, and then it basically any show, because it's bringing in an amount of people. Even though that sounds unsafe, but it's bringing in an amount of people and a revenue from those amount of people that they're not normally getting on their day-to-day basis.
Yeah, especially with everything going on too.
Yeah.
But it was because I think laughter is very important, and I think comedy is very important to help people through incredibly difficult times. And that's, I'm thankful that I started doing the podcast, and this whole thing, I talk about it ad nauseum in the first couple episodes, but the whole idea I had years and years ago with my buddy, but, I started doing this, and you and I have talked extensively about how certain people found a different voice during the pandemic as far as comedians, be it sketch comedy, be it, doing skits, be it, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, they found a different voice. And I'm thankful that I found this because this is just another way to kind of get out there. But also, like, it's confusing to me, and I know I've talked to you about this. It's like, this is it. Like, so when people say to me, like, you don't have to do a show, like, it's not necessary to do a show, I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, this is my life. Like, it is comedy. Like, if comedy was taken away from me, then I'm not going to work in an office. I'm not going to do that. Luckily, I have the podcast now to kind of be another avenue creatively. But it's so bizarre to me when it's like, okay, so you're telling me I can go to, because you're not going to pay my bills. I need to pay my bills. So you're telling me I can go to work, be around between 200 to 300 people a day.
Yeah.
And that's fine because I'm making money to pay my bills and stuff. But when it comes to comedy,
I can't be around the 30 people because they're all social distance shows.
Yeah.
I don't think I've done a single show that had more than 50 people.
Yeah, and they're all socially distant and stuff. But that's where I get confused. It's like, okay, but now you're telling me I can't be around these 30 people to do not only what makes me happy and keeps me going, but also to give them a break and a little levity in the situation.
And honestly, and I don't want to throw that argument into people. Like, I don't want to argue with people.
Yeah.
Especially with stuff when I know they're not going to bend, cave, or break or anything. But like, I've done shows recently. Like some of the things that people have said to me, and not just the audience. I'm talking about the other comics. I did a show where like literally everyone on the show needed the show. Like it was as far as like what was going on with the person. Like we had one cat on the show who the most minuscule of the 4 stories or whatever narratives was like he had like. he had a bad night, a rough night, a set, or whatever.
Yeah.
So he needed that show. He did good, whatever. Then another comic, I think, broke up with his like long-term girlfriend like 2 days before that. They were like live-in. They were like a live-in relationship during this time. So it was like all crazy. And then one of the other comics, it was just right before Thanksgiving. So the holidays, and he's openly gay, and his family disowned him for coming out. So basically,
terrible.
so like that type of thing, and then people coming to the show afterwards, and like everybody's dealing with this in their own way.
Yeah.
Like people always think, all these people coming out of shows, they need to be safe. I'm like, yeah, some of these people lost people to COVID.
Yeah.
And coming out to the show, especially with social distance or whatever, for them it was like an escape. They're aware of the inherent risks. They had someone who died from it.
Yeah.
And me going there and talking about my dick or whatever was like the little escape.
Gave
from
them a break. Yeah.
Yeah.
From everything that's going on.
And they weren't around for those stories. I'm not going to tell every story, but like that's the dual sword. Like I'm not going to knock any type of comedy. I would never do that.
Yeah.
Like my thing is all of it's important. All of it's, whether it's digital or physical. It's just the only thing we can try to do in trying to reopen, like doing shows again, is be as safe as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I've seen some people kind of reckless, but like that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to.
Well, you and I are in the same boat too, because the shows that we do, because we would do this anyway, but we stand in the back. Like I'm trying not to take up seats for anybody, but I stand in the back away from people already, and then I try to always keep my mask on. I've caught myself a couple times where you almost fall back into that, like when it's just me and like a bunch of other comics. Like there's no one at the venue but other like five other comedians. I'll catch myself taking my mask off and stuff and like talking. And I understand I need to do better with that. But like if there's actual like people there, like civilians, like normal people, I'm masked up. I'm in the back. I'm away from everybody.
Even then, when you take your mask off, it's lots of times it's when you have a drink or a soda or something like that. So you're technically doing within the guidelines. But like my thing is it's tough for me and yourself included. Like we're people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We like to mingle and talk, and I'm a hugger and all that shit.
Yeah.
And like it's just weird. Like
you've nixed all that.
Elbow bumping or fist bumping friends that I haven't seen in a long time. Like I want to kiss you in the mouth right now. Like, I can't,
Oh man. Well, we've got some shows coming up. You and me will be in Richmond Hill, Georgia next Thursday. That's the 17th. And then what do you have? You have the 18th, Hyperion. And then the 19th, which is Saturday.
I'm in Sanford at Oasis on the River.
All right. Beautiful. Again, plug your social media one more time. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Basically, pretty much on all platforms except Facebook. Facebook's Marcus Crespo, but all the other platforms is Marcus Crespo Besto or M Crespo Besto.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Thank you, Joe Dorville, for the new intro music. Shouts out to Headphone Joe, no O, no E in the phone. Check out his album, TV, available on all digital platforms. My name is Brennan Tassif. Check me out at Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com for my upcoming dates. And thank you all so much for listening. We love you all, and we will talk to you next week.